Just so we've got it for the record.
My name is Allison Kea Sikes.
Okay.
And I'm Miriam Sykes, Pridgen.
Okay. And are y'all related?
Cousins.
Cousins. Okay, great. Well, I guess we can just start by y'all telling me how you're kind of related in the mill and what role the mill plays in your lives.
Okay. Do you want to start? Or you want me to
The mills, I'm sorry.
Our mothers were sisters.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was Barbara Coley,
Okay.
and her mother was Mabel Coley.
Mm-hmm.
And our grandmother and grandfather both worked at the mill and lived in the mill village.
Okay.
They lived at 14 River Drive, which is about midway down River Drive. It's now 16 River Drive now that they've renovated because they put 2 new houses right beside Grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've heard all our lives about all the wonderful memories of them growing up in the mill village and the wonderful community that was there. My grandmother worked at the mill for 40 years and had this great, a great sense of community. She, if you remember the era that was in the Depression era, and grandmother was married when she was 13.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Had 5 children.
Wow.
So she had a lot to take care of, and she was one of the first what we call female entrepreneurs in our family.
Yeah.
Her mother was an entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. Her mother was the oldest of the 5. My mother was the next to the youngest of the 5, and they were very close. And so not only did she work at the mill, but she also later in life sold bait from her. We called it the back porch, but it ended up being a separate little room in those tiny little houses. To make extra money, she went and dug worms on the riverbank down at the river and boxed them and sold them. And when I would get off school, and I know many of us did when we were over there, she had a little garage over there that's no longer there, and also a little workshop in the back where she would keep these. Somebody came up a few moments ago and called it the worm farm. But it was big wash tubs basically with peat moss in it where the worms were kept. And we would, if you could imagine, a prissy little girl like me going and turning all those worms over, and my brothers wouldn't mess with them.
The boys would not touch them.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
But we would go help her. If you've ever seen the white cardboard, it looks like a barbecue container. You put some peat moss in there, and you count 50 worms, and you punch holes in it with an ice pick so they could breathe.
Yeah.
And you'd write 50 cents on it, and she sold bait. She also expanded that little room to include drinks and nabs and snacks and stuff like that for the people who were fishing down at the river. She had one of the big red Coca-Cola drink boxes on her back porch, and a big round red Coca-Cola sign at the end of her driveway. We wish we had a picture of that, but that got gone in later years, and we didn't have a photo of it. But she was a wonderful Christian woman. My granddad, who was which was typical of the time, was more of a quiet, strong, stern type, I guess. But she was a listening ear and a confidant to many friends there in the community. Many would come to her when they had needs, and she'd pray for them and talk with them and help them. And I remember Mama saying that Granddaddy would fuss sometimes. She'd help people out, and he'd be like, he's like, we're poor ourselves, but we don't have anything, and you're giving what we have away. And she's like, it says in the Bible, they may be an angel in disguise, and we need to help everybody. So I mean, she even gave when she didn't have it to give.
She really did.
So she was a wonderful person. Her name was Samantha Coley, or a lot of people know her as Mantha Coley.
Yeah, I interviewed a woman earlier today she was like, I think her name was Samantha, but everybody called her.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they reference her?
Oh,
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
She became very well known in the Mill Village as Miss Coley that ran the bait store, or the bait shop, or whatever you want to call it. And ironically enough, my husband now remembers going to buy bait and remember seeing a little girl working at the bait shop, but didn't know who I was. Right?
I know, but I love this one.
And so he realized later on that I was a little girl at the bait shop. So I mean, gosh, the stories you could tell are just endless, but,
And later in life, I guess when she stopped working at the mill, at some point she had a florist
oh, yeah.
in that little store area.
Oh,
And she
okay.
made flower arrangements. She and a lady across the street, Manson Matthews, they made flower arrangements and had a pretty lucrative business, I think. They're
That's
very
great.
well known for that. So she was an early entrepreneur, way on
Yeah,
before
yeah.
women were thought of as that. And I'm sure back then to make ends meet, she had to do that.
Sure. No, I'm pretty certain.
But
that
we
happened
both
a
feel
lot.
like this is where we got our strength and passion,
Yeah,
if you want to call it
absolutely.
that, for entrepreneurship, and then also being the strong females that we are, to take care of people and
Yeah.
always be there.
One of her famous sayings was whenever we would feel down or sad or upset about something, she'd be like, quit acting like that, you're acting weak-minded.
Yeah, she'd say weak-minded. Don't be
People are going to
weak-minded.
think you're weak-minded and talk like that. And so every time we, have someone's like, don't say that, you're acting weak-minded.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a family phrase. But she, talking about her florist and the craft shop and things, if you can imagine back then, there was no Michael's or Walmart.
No. Yeah.
So she had mail ordered a lot of those pieces from specialty catalogs, and we just like looking through the books. I mean, I remember
we
just
did. We
looking
enjoyed
through
it.
the books, and
Yeah.
she would make very unique crafts when we would come and stay at her house or visit her house. I remember there was an old water oak tree in the empty lot that used to be beside her house.
And they were still in the Mill Village?
In the middle.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Mill Village.
Yeah.
Yeah, she still lived in the Mill Village, and she would draw. Like I remember a rooster one time. She drew a rooster on a piece of wood, probably out the backyard, and she would have me glue acorns for the feathers and beans or corn or whatever to make the rooster. She had me learn how to do stained glass.
Yeah,
she did
she did.
glass and you paint on glass, and she taught me how to crochet and oh gosh, I can't even remember what all she made calico cats. She would make the plaster cat and use quilt scraps to lacquer on the cat to make a calico cat.
Yep.
But she was an amazing woman.
She was.
Miriam's mom, who was the oldest of the five, went on to have her own tax business and real estate business. And then later on, my mom was in banking and had her own real estate business, and they worked together some.
Yeah, they did.
Wow. So this really is a generational thing.
It is.
And then, I've owned 3 businesses, so I worked in Dad's business and then my 2 businesses. And so, we love our moms and our grandmothers, and
Yeah.
Proud of our heritage.
very
Yeah.
proud, very proud. And of course, we laugh now because we've just seen grandmother's house renovated.
How did that feel?
Oh, yeah, well, we went and
Amazing.
we took pictures and all that, because we have so many memories there. And of course, we laughed and said grandmother would just roll over if she knew a beer tap was in her kitchen. She would just, but that's super cool now. Obviously.
Yeah.
But
And for what the rent is going for.
oh yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right.
That
Yeah.
rent is
I'm
amazing.
sure.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. But I think it's cool that they didn't, they kept the walls and the structure of the house.
It is
the same.
very nice.
So.
And in her particular house, which all of them they could not do, is what the renovator told us, was kept the windows, some of the original windows there.
Oh, that's
Some of them they
great.
could not do that. And so that was really nice that they could restore that and or
Yeah.
preserve that, I should say, at her house.
Yeah.
Now,
And,
the back porch though they had to do
Yeah,
differently
they
because,
did.
believe it or not, her restroom was out on the back porch in her original house. So they had to close. I mean, obviously, the back porch fell off many years ago.
Right,
so they had to
right.
close all that in and.
right.
And
And
make
I
that
think they
different.
lived there, if my recollection's correct, maybe from she married my grandfather in 1913. When
Okay.
she was 13. And he was 25. And I think they moved there around 1915.
Okay.
And then she stayed there, even after he passed on, until about 1980, I'd say around 83 or 84.
Wow.
And then she moved in with my mother in Tarboro.
Yeah.
But she stayed there a long time.
And raised 5 kids in that house.
Raised 5 kids there. And even the grandchildren, some would go and stay with her when they were in college. They'd go back and stay with her on break. They loved being around her. Everybody loved her.
Yeah.
And when she moved in with my mother in Tarboro, of course my children, my oldest child, he remembers her son vaguely. He was younger. But the grandchildren, even great-grandchildren, experienced a lot from being around her. They loved it. Yeah, they just loved being with her. She was just so wonderful. So,
yeah. Oh, that's, I mean, so when she worked at the mill, did she work part-time or full-time?
Full-time.
Full-time.
She worked full-time.
And then would come home and do some of these jobs that she had at her house.
And raise 5
Well,
children.
that's,
And raise
yeah,
five
I mean,
children.
that's inspirational right
Yeah.
there.
Exactly.
And back in those days, that was unheard of.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
really
you're
was.
not, yeah.
Yeah, that was unheard of back then.
It
Wow.
really was.
And grandfather's health was not good, obviously, as he got older, so a lot of the
'Cause of
financial
the-
responsibility
Right,
fell
right.
to
Breathing
her.
stuff.
Fell to her. So
Mhm.
she was, I mean, I can't say enough about her. She
And
was
then
so
being the
amazing.
little guardian angel in the neighborhood, when
Yeah.
everybody would come by. I always
Yeah.
wanted to go see her and stop and visit and talk and share their problems. And she just was a wonderful listening ear for everybody. You know, just perfect for that.
No, I mean, seriously, the woman that I interviewed was like, you've heard about the Coleys already, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, her, she grew up in one of the Mill Village houses, and so I guess like kind of in between y'all's generation and your mom's
Right.
generation. But yeah,
Okay.
she was talking about the bait shop.
Can I
and-
ask who that was?
I don't remember.
Oh,
okay.
okay. We'd love to know
I've
who
got
that
it written
was.
down, but I think
Okay.
I left it in the other room. But
Well, that's
I
wonderful.
think
Glad to
was
hear
it
that.
Williams?
It was
Oh, it's probably Alton's.
Yeah, it was
Williams'
Alton's daughter.
I
She
bet.
she called us downstairs.
Yeah,
Okay,
she saw
good.
And he lived right
downstairs.
beside her.
He was
Yeah, well, because I was thinking with the address.
Yeah, he lived right beside her.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to actually go sit on the porch and swing with him when I was young and probably talk his ears off like I'm doing now. So he was a sweet man.
He really
was very
was.
sweet.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
good neighbor for
Yes.
them, I think.
Very good
Yeah,
neighbor.
that's good. That's really good.
But it's funny how tough Grandma was. She sold, I know this is probably more detail than you want to hear, but she sold 2 types of worms.
Okay.
Red wiggler worms,
Okay.
and you got like 50 in a thing for 50 cents
Mm-hmm.
back in those days. And then she sold what they call river worms, and those cost a little bit more. You got like 30 in a box for 50 cents.
Were they bigger?
They were bigger.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
a lot bigger.
They were a lot bigger, and then she also sold Catawba worms, which there was a huge Catawba tree right out behind her, the door of her back door.
Mm-hmm.
But those, they look like caterpillars, and they would bite you. They'd sting and bite you.
Ooh.
And
I was scared of them.
I was scared. And,
I wouldn't be sticking my hand in the wood with that.
I would never go back there and mess. She'd be like, go right there.
Yeah, we didn't like to do
And
that.
she'd be like, oh, I don't know what y'all are doing. Just reach me.
Yeah, she would just, we couldn't do it.
I'm like, go ahead. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna touch them. But I remember one time, and I know this sounds odd too, but I just vaguely remember it. I can't remember if it was termites or something that swarmed the back porch. They looked like little gnats or something that all got out on the back porch. I was just freaked out by the whole thing. I was like, bah! And she got out there with those pump spray things. Oh, hush, Allison, hush. She's spraying them with chemicals. She's like, no, go away, just hush, quit. And I'm like, go ahead. She was.
And I can remember back in the day when we'd go over there. Of course, back then you didn't keep doors locked. You
Oh,
kept
sure.
the windows open, and
That's right.
we'd run out her back screen door, and I'd be barefoot. We'd be trying to catch fireflies, at dusk and all. But we'd run right across the way to a little neighbor's house, and she'd say, "Go see Miss So and So and tell them I said hello." And we'd just fly on out the door and just do it.
Yeah.
We were not scared of a thing,
Yeah.
even at night.
Yeah.
It's just a fun, safe time back then.
Yeah.
And a fun
It
little
sounds like
area,
that.
don't you think?
Oh yeah. And they had a very big garden out on the back side lot.
Uh-huh.
That they grew all kinds of vegetables and things in. And our grandfather, which I thought was pretty innovative for his time, did a lot of fruit tree grafting.
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
He would
He really did.
graft this tree with that tree and make it different, and you didn't mess with his trees. Now,
No,
until you get in trouble.
Lord.
Don't you dare
better
near
not.
those trees. Yes, sir. Don't touch the trees.
We knew not to do that.
But he did a lot of fruit tree grafting, which I thought was pretty innovative for the day. And I remember them having a big fig bush out on the back of the
Yeah,
lot, and we
they
could
did.
pick figs. And figs off the fig bush.
Yeah, so it was.
When she stayed there, so she stayed there through the 80s.
Most all of her life, she
Yeah.
said, yeah.
And
Only
I'm-
until her health deteriorated and she moved in with my mother.
Right. I mean, but I'm assuming the neighborhood started to change around.
Oh,
It did.
absolutely.
Oh, it had a lot.
Absolutely, yes.
What I mean, just
Yeah.
But there were still a lot of generations
You're right,
that succeeded in other
Mhm.
houses. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
their mom
Oh,
used to
yeah.
live there, and then their
Mhm.
kids lived
Mhm.
there, and even after she left the house, our uncle lived there.
Mhm.
He
Okay.
remained in the house for a while, and then he
Mhm.
later passed, and
Mhm.
you know, but so
yeah. I mean, when would you say that things started to change?
gosh, I don't know.
I mean, I know that it happens slowly, and like sometimes you just like look around and you're like, wait, that's different.
I would say
1980.
probably in the early 80s,
Yeah,
maybe, or late
80 or
70s, maybe.
late
Yeah.
70s, early
Yeah.
80s.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's all painted and so pretty now.
It's beautiful
and,
now, but
Yeah.
if you were to see her house right before they renovated it, part of the ceiling or the roof was coming in. We just
We
knew it was
didn't
going to
think
be.
they would save it.
Yeah, we thought
You
it was
didn't.
going to be torn down.
Yeah.
We really did.
Mhm.
So we were very pleased, happily pleased.
And
you
I've
could
got-
say.
I didn't think about that, but I've got photographs of where they went in and bored it,
Oh,
where they
yeah.
repaired it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, of where they.
Wow.
That's right.
And we got
She
to
has
tour
that.
it before they rented it and
Mhm.
see it and take pictures and all
So
that.
That's
that
so
was
great that
really
they did
wonderful.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
I wish we had some of the. Now, of course, the garage and the barn out back, all that got torn down a long
Uh-huh.
time ago. But I mean, I wish we had some pictures of the Coca-Cola sign and all that stuff.
I do
but
too, because that was just the
very
era.
special.
That era.
That was
of
very,
Right.
yeah.
That was very unique for her
Mhm.
at that time. Our mothers went to the Mill Village School, the
Okay.
Mill School,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure did.
which was down on the corner, as I understand.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
marker for it this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
then-
have some pictures with it in the background
Okay.
of the
Yeah,
house.
and we also have report cards of moms from the
Mhm.
Mill School, which we've given to them and had them scan.
Mhm.
Everybody's loving
Oh,
y'all.
yeah.
I'm sure. No, that's fantastic.
And
So,
it was interesting to see that she didn't
Mhm.
make as good of grades as I thought after she fussed at us.
well, nobody's going to admit to their child that they didn't do as well as they wanted in school.
That's true.
She had
That's
mostly
right.
A's and B's, but she had some C's. But we laughed that she
Yeah,
got
it was really funny.
a B in conduct, and I was like, "Oh my!"
And she's always been so
She'd have
prim and
killed
proper.
She would have killed us. if we had a B. But anyway, so but
Did they go all the way through high school?
Mm-mm.
What, our grandparents or our parents?
Your parents?
No,
You mean at the Mill Village?
Yeah.
no,
no.
no. The Mill Village was. I think her cards are like what, 5th, 6th,
Yeah.
7th grade.
Mostly
Fourth-
elementary. It
4th,
wasn't
5th, and 6th
really-
grade. I think it went to
yeah.
6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you go over to like the county
The high school.
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah. But back then, see, they grew up together, these children. They went
Sure.
to school together. That's why there was just such camaraderie, I think, in that
Of
little
course.
group, in that neighborhood, and everybody looked out for each other. You know, they
Mhm.
grew up together in a sense.
Yeah.
And I've heard my parents and Aunt Barbara talk about a lot about that, how they
I
loved
can only
that time.
imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Miss Williams was saying that, she was like, everybody knew, everything that was going on. Like, somebody come visit you, and like 5 minutes later.
Everybody knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they'd say, who was that going in your house?
Yeah.
So you probably couldn't get in trouble either
Yeah, you
down
couldn't get
there.
away with a whole lot.
That's all right.
But that was okay too.
Yeah.
But here's and this is something I shared with her on the way over here. The irony of all this is, there was a time, and my mom has always been extremely proud of her Mill heritage.
Yeah, of course.
But she told me when I was younger, that there's been many times, and I even experienced it a little bit when I was younger. I went to school near the mill at Falls Road Baptist Church School, which is right up the road.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that there was an impression that if you grew up in the Mill Village, that it wasn't it was kind of like you were really poor, and it was like a bad part of the town or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I was telling her that there was even kids that said, "Oh, your grandma lives on the Rat Road." I'm like, "The Rat Road?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's that poor bad part of town where the rats go across the road." I'm like, "No, she lives in the Mill Village." She's like, "No, it's the Mill Hill." And Mama said, "No, it's the Mill Village." But so it's funny to see, people have a negative concept association with something like that, and now it's like the coolest thing in town, and it's the highest rent in town.
I know, right?
And we laughed and said, "Oh, our mothers and grandmothers would just probably up in heaven laughing, looking down." Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, well, no, I mean, my family's, it's from Western NC, but we're all Mill too, so I get it, but yeah, I mean, I'm glad that she raised you to be proud of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Yeah. We are proud of it.
Yeah, very proud of it. Proud of our heritage.
I'm actually the founding board of Springboard, North Carolina, which is, we actually lease the top of, I believe it's called the Captain's House at the Mill. We have the co-working space for entrepreneurs and all that. So, to see all that get renovated and all, that was very important to me and meant a lot.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Well, and I think, I mean, it's a really interesting concept. Like, I think that the incubator and like getting people in that are trying to be entrepreneurs like y'all are, and like to just try and get something started for themselves, and like giving people space to do that. I mean, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
We are too.
And one of the amazing things that grandmother always instilled in everyone she came into contact with is that you could be and do anything you wanted to be. That not to listen to anything anybody told you.
That's right.
Doesn't matter what economic background you came from, or where you lived, or who your parents were, or anything like that. She and my mother used to always tell me, you could be she used to joke and say, "You could be the first female president of the United States." And I was like, "I don't know if I want to do that."
Yeah, me
but ironically, later on when I started my own firm, and Mom saw my business cards and she said, "See, you became the president."
There you go.
And that's
said,
right.
"I told you to be the president." And so, not all children have the advantage of having that kind of encouragement growing up, and so we're very blessed and grateful to have to have that.
Well, and I'm certain that growing up in that kind of community, helps you to know how to be that kind of supportive person, and how to really, instill that sense of like self-confidence and ability, which is such a big deal. Yeah.
So thank you for letting us share.
We sure
I am so
pleased.
like, thank you so much for sharing your memories, and for I can't wait to see everything that got scanned today.
It's such a treat.
We've shared a lot of pictures of my mother and father. We jokingly say they're kind of like the couple on the Notebook movie, except they probably didn't fight quite as much, but they were just a beautiful, beautiful couple, and of course Mabel and Uncle Robert, they're a beautiful couple as well. We've got additional pictures of them that we're bringing next trip.
This was kind of like a last minute thing when I found out about it. Yeah.
We weren't as prepared, and I grabbed up what I had of Mom and Dad. And, so anyway, we're excited that their love will live on.
Yeah.
We have love letters that were written to the Mill Village from World War II. And,
oh, that's so romantic.
Look, I read one down there a few minutes ago and just started, that I had not even read yet, and I just started tearing up. I'm like, y'all get me torn up. But
that's beautiful. No,
it's
that's wonderful.
It's been really nice.
But nearly all their pictures were taken down at the mill.
Yeah.
I mean,
even better. That's fantastic.
And then you see the mill in the background. I'm like, good gracious. So I was like, we got to get these mill pictures down there. So
yeah. Cool. Are y'all here in Rocky Mount, or did you drive in?
Yeah, well, I'm in Rocky Mount.
I'm just in
Charlotte. She was in Charlotte, which is not far away.
Yeah, not far at all.
Yeah, so we're glad to be able to do this, and it means a lot for us to go down memory road a little bit also.
Of course.
So.
Well, and to know that those memories are being preserved, and that those,
We say we're representing the family, so.
Yeah, we're representing
You are. That's a big deal.
A lot of people that couldn't be here today. So.
And they wanted to be, several did, and they just couldn't make the time, so.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be doing a couple more of these, so.
That's what they said, so we'll have
more for you. Might get them to come then.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We'd love it. I mean, really getting, these history harvests are just a really great way to get the human element of it, like the history that just doesn't get written down, so
that's
a big deal.
That's true. You're exactly right.
Yeah.